Today's podcast is sponsored by Tennessee Craft Beer Magazine.
It's like cracking open your favorite craft brew.
Yes, it is, DJ. Just like cracking open your favorite craft brew.
And reading the can at the same time, but you get more information.
A lot more information because they go in depth into stories and things about what's happening in Tennessee that you normally don't get to hear and normally don't get to see if you're not from that region.
From Memphis to Nashville to East Tennessee.
Yeah, it's all there.
It's like you open the magazine, it's like cracking a beer open from each part of the state.
That's right. You can find them online at tncraftbeermag.com. There you'll find digital copies of their magazine along with a statewide brewery map, events calendar, and you can even subscribe to their print edition from their website.
Print like my dad's New York Times?
Exactly like your dad's New York Times, but about beer.
Sign me up.
All right, DJ, we will do that. Tennessee Craft Beer Magazine. Again, find them online at tncraftbeermag.com.
Down in the bottom of a bottle, and I ain't gonna change my ways. But I ain't half bad when I do what I ought. It don't happen much these days.
Well, hey guys, this is Chris Hill.
This is DJ Loop.
And we are here today in Nashville at Jackalope Brewing Company with Bailey and Steve. Thank you guys for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And we just, we're excited to be here. We were talking before we started recording, but I'd been to Jackalope, I think about a year or so ago, and really enjoyed it up here. So I'm really happy to get the opportunity to come back and really talk to you guys in person about what y'all are brewing and what's going on at Jackalope. So
thanks. Yeah, we're definitely still brewing.
I can tell.
I'm actually happy to finally get to visit here. I mean, I've had your beer through bottle shares and people going, here's a six pack coming back in Knoxville and bringing me stuff or something like that. But I never got to see the brewery and put the faces with the brewery. So it's nice to finally do that.
This is a joint.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your brand is overall very fascinating to me too, because you all use a lot of, I guess, Americana mythology and stuff in your brewing or in how you name your beers. And I, as a kid, wanted to be a cryptozoologist for a little while.
Yeah.
Bigfoot and still do. So things like that and the stuff you all do, I think, adds that extra layer of fun, but also fascination for me. So
thank you.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah. I believed in jackalopes growing up. That's how the brewery got its name. So
she uses the past tense. I mean, I don't know.
Prove to me they're not real. Just saying.
I've seen the busts of them. I'm pretty sure y'all have one here.
But yeah, I have a T-shirt with a jackalope on it that says "Believe in yourself." So I was starting a brewery, and people thought it was a little crazy. It's like believe in yourself. So that's where the kind of name came from, and that's where the mythology kind of theme, I guess, came from. So
That's great. So when so I guess take us through, how did the brewery get started? What's your background? And
sure. My
question.
Background was not really in beer, actually, which I think is like the way, now there's more formal education, but for the first while, people came to making beer from whatever different background they had. But I moved to Nashville in 2006. That's a long time ago now, to go to Vanderbilt Law School. But I'm from Vermont, where we have a really rich craft beer culture. Mm-hmm. So moving from New England to Nashville in 2006, there was like a very big difference. There was not a lot of craft beer in Nashville at that point. The breweries that I just kind of assumed I'd grown up around and assumed everybody knew about, no one had heard of down here. And so I started home brewing, and I had a science background before law school, and so, realized brewing beer was just a science experiment and loved it, and here we are.
And I met Bailey when she was in law school, and Bailey actually taught me how to brew. at the time, it's funny, with Jackalope having grown so much and us now having been open for almost 7 years now, we certainly know a lot more. But what's funny is back then I was like, oh man, I met Bailey. Seemed like she knew so much about brewing. And now looking back, I'm like, wow, I can't believe
We didn't know anything.
how little we knew. But yeah, I met Bailey and she's brewing. She, taught me everything she knew at the time, and then we certainly learned a lot together too, and in brewing over the last 7 years. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so, like you said, the name for the brewery, Jackalope, came from your past belief.
Yeah.
Possibly
ongoing.
Uncomfortably long period of belief.
And then where have things gone since then, like with the naming of the beers and things?
Yeah. And so now, so we're, that kind of gave us that kind of mythology. We base our beers in mythical creatures or, kind of folklore characters. And so sometimes it's easy to find, the beer's name. It'll kind of name itself, and sometimes it's a longer process. But we try to find something that connects the beer to its kind of mythical or legendary name. We did. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Tannikin. So Tannikin is this one of the very few large format hand bottle releases that we do. That it's our mocha stout aged in a Corsair whiskey barrel, and then the last few days in the barrel we add Porter Road Butcher guanciale jowl bacon to it. So it's got all kinds of stuff, and so
sounds delicious.
It's good. I'm actually a vegetarian, so I've had one sip of this beer ever, but
it's good though.
The idea, and so it's named at Tannikin. Was a legend about a woman named Tannikin Skinker who'd been cursed with the face of a pig. It's kind of reverse Beauty and the Beast kind of thing, where she had the face of a pig, and then True Love's kiss reversed the curse and whatever. But since it was a bacon beer, we wanted a legend about a pig, so we kind of put them together that way a little bit.
I asked this question at one of our last podcasts we did. It's like, do you start with the concept and then work the beer in, or do you do vice versa?
That one we started with the beer.
Yeah, I think you can go both ways though. Yeah. I'm trying to think of a good example. I mean, what's it?
I know.
Was Bitter Over You? Was
Bitter
that
Over
one that
You.
started with the...
That was an ESB.
That was an early on one.
Yeah, that was one of our very first. It was an ESB for when Prince William was getting married. Not to me. And you was EWE.
Yeah.
British people and sheep.
Oh, nice. Nice.
It all comes together.
Yeah, my wife shares a birthday with Kate.
Oh, pretty fancy.
So yeah, but she's really into the royal family too, so I hear that at home some, so that's really funny. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it can work both ways.
Exactly.
It is definitely one of the more fun things. I mean, I think some of my favorite memories from the beginning when we were just getting started was sitting around drinking beers, thinking of names, looking through mythology books and different sources that people had sent us to find cool and fun legends to name our beers after. And the ideas get better and better when you've had a few pints
right.
too. So naming beers is definitely one of the most fun things I like about being involved with the brewery.
Yeah, that's really cool. So what else do you do? What is your role with the brewery, Steve?
I drink a lot.
Exactly do you do?
Exactly. Well, when I'm not, doing podcasts. No, yeah. I think of myself, as kind of a head of operations.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of the ingredient ordering,
Quality control,
the
Very important.
relationships with our distributors. allocations of specialty beers and actually year rounds, because a lot of times we really have to kind of nail our allocations, because we do have we're kind of busting at the seams here. So allocation of all beer and just managing those processes are kind of what my day to day looks like. Up until a couple of years ago, Bailey and I were still brewing every single day too. So we both kind of moved into from a very hands-on role to an arm's length role with the brewing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, still get, every now and then it's like, still got it, like if someone's on vacation or if they have questions, and then, I still get to do a lot of, recipe writing. Still is mostly me, but I don't get to brew. Neither Steve or I really.
Is there not a pilot system or anything like that you can tinker around with? Or?
We do
see
have
that as much about a goal too. Sometimes
Yeah.
so it's like if
Exactly.
we work
We
really
want to
hard,
get to
we
that
can
point.
get back to a point where we can brew again.
Right. Well, and
cool.
it is, like Steve said, we're just busting at the seams here. It can be really hard to even find space and time to get our pilot system out. We brew 10 times a week, and we've got a very small space, so it can be hard to kind of not be in the way. But part of the expansion that we're working on.
So y'all are working on an expansion.
Yeah,
now.
we are.
Okay.
Jumping ahead. So we're working on an expansion where we're going to be moving our main production about 1.5 miles away from here in a different neighborhood and a bigger building. But we're going to keep some of our equipment here so we can do more experimental beers, start doing some sours and things that we won't do when they share the space with our main production. Yeah. And so that'll be really fun, because then our experimental beers won't be competing for resources with our main production beers. So hopefully we'll get to brew more beer again.
Right. Yeah, it is funny. It's like also having watching the trajectory of our business over the last 7 years. While in some ways we've grown and got a lot bigger, I think also it's like our roles still, we also get humbled sometimes too, where it's like, we get called in for crisis things when we have to clean something up or fix something that's broken, and get reminded that while there's a lot of fun in it, there's also sometimes when you're the people, the head honchos or whatever, for lack of a better word, you are also the one, or the buck stops there, and at the end of the day we have to fix it or clean it, and so we still find ourselves cleaning up messes a lot too.
But you just say you have been open this location for 7 years?
Yeah, we're coming on 7
7
years.
years,
May
all right.
21st will be 7 years.
Yeah. Did you start off with just tap room only, or the distribution, or how did you start out?
Yeah, we started, not even necessarily on purpose. We started taproom only. We have a 15-barrel brew house, and it was about 4 months late getting here. And when it got here, it was miswired. I mean, it was a mess. And so, but we were licensed. We were ready to go, and so we had a little, brew magic, or the Sabco system.
Same one. I think Sam Calagione from
Yeah,
Dogfish Shed started on.
Like that little kind of pilot system, and so Steve and I would brew on that every day.
I think we did 100. I counted it once. We did 150 brews in 100 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We were just cranking on that, and so we had enough beer on that. Yeah, brewing 150 times in 100 days. We had enough beer for our tap room to be open on Fridays from 4 to 8 p.m. So people, I think, were like, "Are you guys trying to be hip, or like what?" Yeah, this new bar, it's only open for 4 hours a week. But it was all the beer we could physically make at that time, and so that was about 6 months that we were open like that. while we were wiring up the new system, the 15-barrel system.
I remember, one of our lowest moments starting
God,
out, just like a
this is the
fun
worst.
story, and Bailey loves this story.
I love this story.
Right. But like, the things that stick out in the beginning that just like, bad things where you're like, oh my gosh, are we going to make it? Like we would brew so much. And then one day right before we opened, I think it was actually the Bitter Over You beer.
It was.
We were hooking it up in the back in the cooler, and hooked up we were both there hooking it up, and didn't realize that the tap was open on the front of the bar, and so we hooked up the keg, had it hooked up, and we walked back around, or we did something else first, and more than half of the keg had poured onto the ground, and it was just like we had such limited beer, and it was like we were about to open. It was almost 4, and it was like, wow, we have like one keg of beer now, to go from 4 to 8, and thankfully we can't be appreciative enough to our customers in the beginning who were just so excited for us and part of kind of the process of growing, and like that everybody was understanding, and it was an awesome nobody ever held that against us, but it was a low point for us. I don't know if we could get away with that now, or people would be as understanding now as they were maybe 7 years ago.
But I think it shows when you make a good product and you build a rapport with your customer base, they'll come back.
Right.
They'll want that one keg or want that one beer.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, I think that hands-on approach in the beginning definitely helped for us, where it was like, people are understanding, particularly when it's like the two people who are making the beer then are the ones coming across
Serving
the
the
counter
beer,
and serving it and putting in the like 14-hour days to like, make sure that as much beer as possible is on tap.
And 7 years, 7 years ago doesn't seem like that long ago, but I mean, craft beer wasn't as hip or as the in thing to do then. So you were feeding, like, you were one of the few ones that, I know Yazoo has been here for a while.
Yeah, we were the first brewery to open in 8 years when we opened.
Yeah, Yazoo opened 8 years before us, and then and nobody else in Middle Tennessee.
So like, you were filling a need, and people were willing to, they wanted that need so bad, and so you guys wiggle room to make some mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. They definitely, they experienced the whole thing with us, and part of our thing is just we're very authentic and transparent, and exactly. We're making the beer, we're serving the beer. I mean, we didn't have a single employee for like a year. I don't know.
Yeah, man. So you didn't have anybody else helping behind the bar, or
Jeff.
Wow.
Jeff, he started like late September.
We hired a bartender
in May. So we hired our first bartender after about 4 months of being open.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it was. It's wouldn't trade it for anything though. It was so fun. I mean, I wouldn't want to do it again either, but
But you learned a lot through that process, and it's
absolutely
it's helped you all out a lot. That's cool. One of the cool things just about the room we're sitting in now, the aesthetic taste of the room. I mean, the drawings on the wall talking about the history of the beer, and this wonderful wonderful painting of what I'm assuming is Bruce Springsteen's
ass.
Yes. And the American flag, but instead of stars, the Jackalope logo.
The do epic shit
painting, which, by the way, I love.
Thank you.
And everything. It's just it's very interesting to me, this aesthetic and kind of how you all tell the story through the visuals of what you guys are doing.
Well, and we try, especially. You can hear that they're washing kegs on the other side of those walls, but, based on our building and codes and whatever else, when we built our space, we weren't able to, it's like to put the glass in so you can see. So we're like, even though people can't see the beer equipment, we want to bring it into the space as much as we can. They can hear it.
And if they take the tour, of
and if
course.
they take the tour, then they definitely can see it.
See it, hear it, and feel it.
Yeah, and this is, we start the tours in this little room. So, I
see a lot of pizza places. There's a pizza place down the street. There's other couple of little breweries, and Like, I mean,
Is there a CrossFit gym nearby?
there's across,
There is.
Yeah, of course there
coffee
is.
shop. Nah.
Yeah.
But were you guys one of the first to kind of come in this
Yeah.
area, or?
Yeah, this neighborhood's, grown a ton where, now people are like, oh, you're in such a great neighborhood. And we're like, yeah, nailed it. But when we opened, most of the businesses kind of in this little area were not here. Arnold's was here, Flight was here, but most of what's here was not. And the big thing is we're now about maybe a third of a mile from that big convention center.
Yeah.
That was a strip club that, that not the size of the convention center, but,
I know Nashville has some pretty big strip.
But there was downtown Nashville didn't come this way at that point, and then they built the convention center, and then suddenly downtown Nashville moved south and came towards us. So we have street traffic now, or pedestrian traffic, which was not the case in the beginning.
Yeah, people actually had to drive out here and
Right. And
wonder,
you
am I in
didn't
the
want to
right
walk down the
place?
streets here, maybe, in the beginning.
Well, that's one of the good credit to the craft beer industry, that if you see a new upcoming area in a city, most of the time there will be a local coffee shop, local craft brewery, and because those are the kind of people that are willing to take a risk to help revitalize an area.
Right. Yeah, I think craft beer's done a lot for a lot of neighborhoods, and it does. Yeah, because we take over big spaces and make people want to go to them.
Yeah, it's amazing what's that. I think there's like 18 breweries now, maybe in Nashville.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Do y'all know, or?
I don't have a count.
I think it was
for
18 or
Nashville.
20.
I've got a really
No,
solid count for Knoxville.
Yeah, what's in Knoxville?
16.
16.
At
in
one
Knoxville.
point, we were looking like we were going to be ahead of Knoxville was going to be ahead of Nashville, but we had a couple.
We lost a couple.
We lost a couple,
but we got a couple more coming in.
Yeah, a
on
couple
top
more
of
coming
the
in.
16.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
awesome.
We're growing like crazy.
Like
That's
Prince
great.
River and Geezers is coming online.
Well,
so-
Prince River's already here.
Yeah, but-
Geezers is coming on. We've got
in the city of Knoxville proper.
yeah. Well, yes. Clinch River will be coming down to downtown Knoxville. Right now they're
Cool.
up in Norris, which is like 45 minutes away.
Okay.
But they do distribute in town.
Cool.
And then we've got who else? Who else is coming in? I have a list.
No, Elmont
so I
just
should know.
opened. We have
Oh, they
Elmont
opened?
Exchange.
Elmont Exchange is open.
Yes.
Ready.
we know
It's,
Alex
Alex
and
is
Ryan,
great, yeah.
actually.
They're cool folks.
Yeah, they are. My husband is a chef and used to cook with Ryan.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
And so we got to know those guys pretty well.
I mean, the Knoxville craft beer scene has blossomed in the past 5 years.
5 years.
We're going
But
zero to-
really the past two. I was
Yeah,
doing
0 to 60 is what we're doing. So
I was looking at the old Knox Ale Trail map from when it first launched, and we had 10 breweries on there, I think, at the time. But we've lost 2, and we've added a total of 8 during that time, so we're up to 16.
That's amazing.
And that was 2016 when we started that map.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've grown quite substantially,
That's
and
so cool.
it's mind
But
blowing.
you said there's a possibility that you might be able to come to the Knoxville market?
At
or?
some
Yeah, I've heard
point,
something like that.
with, again, kind of our expansion, we're pretty close to capacity here. Every time we kind of thought we'd expand more geographically, I mean, Nashville's just grown as a city so much.
What is your geographical footprint right now?
We're kind of middle Tennessee, and then we get to Chattanooga, Clarksville, and Memphis. But none in Northeast Tennessee at all. And we don't really fill in the spaces in between. You know, like you can get Jackalope beer in Nashville and Memphis, but not Jackson. You know, so a lot of with this expansion, we're clearly going to want to get into the Knoxville area and just try to build our presence throughout the rest of Tennessee for sure. It's kind of high on our list. So.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, just as representing, I guess, the Knoxville Brewers Association here, I can tell you that we're a very welcoming community. We want other breweries in our area.
Cool.
We want to feature them. We want to make sure that they get supported when they come to our area as well. If you're part of Tennessee and East
Awesome.
Tennessee and you're not a major InBev or something like that, like, we want you guys to be supported as well. And the Knoxville drinkers of beer love having new breweries as well.
Yeah, well, as I say,
what's the beer drinking scene like in Knoxville?
Pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy.
I mean, y'all got a lot of Asheville breweries that also distribute to Knoxville.
We're actually
right?
statistically one of the biggest locations for Highland Brewing.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay,
we're one of
that
the
makes
biggest
sense.
markets for them.
Yeah.
Over the years.
I think it was last year. Like a lot of the people from Highland Brewing, or from Nashville, was driving to Knoxville to buy
Cold Mountain.
Cold Mountain.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were
Cool.
coming into Knoxville because Knoxville had one of the highest accounts of Cold Mountain.
Oh, that's so funny.
Just stuff like that, but and Knoxville craft beer people travel too. We do a lot of festivals around the southeast.
Up until the past few years, we've not had that many breweries.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like, okay, well, we'll go to Nashville and try their beer scene, or we'll go to Asheville and try theirs. And now I think people are finally catching on. They're going, well, we can have this here too.
Yeah, definitely.
We've got a market. We've got a population size that'll support it. And yeah.
And what I love about it too is that the fact that the Knoxville, the national craft beer scene is so like positive and excited for the Knoxville scene.
Yeah.
And as the national scene grows, the Knoxville scene is like, well, this is awesome. Let's find ways to hang out.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, Adam Ingalls, the head of the Tennessee Craft Brewers Guild now. I used to be, and so we joked about doing a collaboration beer, like pass the torch or something.
That would work perfect with the Lions.
Right?
That would work perfect with the Lions.
With the Lions,
concept.
exactly.
They got a torch as the logo.
So maybe there's still time. It's been less than 6 months.
Right.
So.
Or once he passes the torch, it can be like a 3 brewery collaboration.
Exactly.
Yep.
So what are your styles, your flagships? What can we drink when we come to?
Well, so what you're drinking right now is definitely our most popular beer. It's a Bear Walker. It's called Bear Walker. It's a maple brown ale.
It's delicious.
We use 100% pure Vermont maple syrup.
That's right.
None of that Canadian garbage. I'm just kidding. Sorry, Canadians. Any Canadians listening? I'm very sorry. I didn't mean that. But yeah.
Vermonters are very proud of our maple syrup.
So that one right there is, we sell more Bear Walker than any of our other beers, and we don't actually package that one because we put the maple syrup in post fermentation. And without pasteurizing the beer, it would re-ferment in the cans and explode, if we were to do that.
Right. So we try not to do that.
Exactly. So one of the most exciting parts of our expansion, though, is that we are going to be getting a flash pasteurizer that will allow us to pasteurize the Bear Walker Maple Brown and then package it. So, we're super excited about that. It is a very popular beer. Probably... as much of a flagship as we have. Thunder Inn is definitely close on its tails in terms of sales, and that one's our pale ale.
Yeah, our APA. With Bear Walker, it's like sometimes the beer finds you. I mean, Bear Walker, Thunder Inn, and then Rampa, our Red Rye, were kind of our 3 that we launched with. And at first, before people had it, it's like people don't really get enthusiastic about browns. It was definitely our 3rd most popular beer when we first launched, and then it kind of gathered following and steam and sort of gathered, and suddenly we brew a lot of Bear Walker.
Yeah, we can't get away anymore. We brew Bear Walker every single week.
4 times a week.
4 times a week. Yeah. And it's as much as I love Bear Walker, it's funny. It's like you go to a bar here in Nashville. It's always like kind of nice to go to a bar that's carrying a beer other than Bear Walker because we drink so much of our beer that it's like, oh, nice. They're carrying Fenario IPA or something. we do other styles besides Bear Walker, but that's definitely the one that is on draft the most. So
that's cool because hear a lot of other beer or breweries that we've talked to say, well, our flagship's an IPA or it's a Belgian or something like that. So to hear a darker beer that is a flagship is
right.
distinctive.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty unique beer too. You know,
it's sweet. It's easy to drink.
Yeah, it's not heavy. People, a lot of times will think that darker beers will be heavy, but it's not. We work, especially with our core beers, we work on balance. So it has the sweetness from the maple syrup, but it's actually higher IBUs than most browns. Because we wanted there to, you got that maple flavor, that maple sweetness, but not for it to be like cloying and kind of sit on your tongue like that. So, there's a little more bright hops to it than most browns would have. You don't necessarily notice. It's just that it balances that maple syrup. So.
Yeah. No. Well, from the sip I had, and I definitely need more for research purposes.
You gotta know what you're talking about.
It definitely can tell. So that's cool. That's really neat. What other interesting or unique beers you do? I mean, you've got so many mythological creatures. Are there any that you do specifically that are really like, hey, you got to try this one during the spring or the fall?
Well, I mean, I think our Lovebird, strawberry raspberry hefeweizen.
That's also been a beast. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it is incredible. It's one of those. When we release that, it also kind of takes over our production schedule in that it's very popular. So that one comes out March 21st. We try to time it with the first day of spring, and we put in the strawberries and raspberries at the very end of the fermentation.
Yeah, we do a secondary.
Secondary, just to allow some of the sweetness to ferment out, which makes it more of like a tartness to it than again, that like overly sweet fruit flavor. So, that one.
It's kind of pink.
It's also pink, and so it is definitely a beast, and definitely one to kind of mark your calendars for. We throw a big party every year when we release it, and it doesn't matter if it's like a Tuesday or whatever. People come out for that to the tap room. So.
Now, what's the name of that? Is it the strawberry?
It's called Lovebird.
Lovebird. Okay, you did say that. Okay.
Yeah.
Which are real, but
Yeah.
So somebody
we didn't know that at the time.
Right. So somebody said to us, like, "Are you trying to say that like love is mythical?" No, that's not what we're trying to say. It's dark.
That's awesome.
Somebody thinking a little bit too much into
too far. Yeah.
That's cool. So I had heard about another one that you all do called the Horny Bunny.
I'm gonna kill Carl.
What do you mean? I don't know what you guys are referring to. It's a legendary beer.
It is. It's a legendary mythical beer.
The story on the Horny Bunny is
Love to hear this.
at the Chattanooga Beer Festival. I think is the first time Carl introduced the Horny Bunny. And for those of you all don't know, Carl Meyer, he is the one of the proprietors of Black Abbey Brewing Company here in town.
Real smart ass.
Real smart ass.
I just had to interview you yesterday.
As you could probably tell.
And we have a great relationship with Black Abbey, but like as a practical joke at the Chattanooga Brew Fest, he told everybody that they had to try the Horny Bunny from Jackalope Brewing Company. So we had people at the festival coming up to us and be like, "Hey, I've heard you guys have a Horny Bunny. Can we try that?" And I don't know. He was getting a kick out of it the whole day, and
Here we are.
And now it's like it started there, and now it's like ongoing. Where
if someone goes from their tap room to our tap room,
right?
Do you guys have the Horny Bunny on tap?
I know. So anyway, if y'all have a good name of a beer that we can come back and send people to Black Abbey to ask for, if y'all could give us some.
Naked Nun.
Naked Nun.
Yeah, we had heard the Naked Nun
That's a good
song.
one.
Naked Nun.
We heard that one yesterday. We might have to think of one.
We gotta
We'll think of it. Yeah.
help us out. Help us get back at Carl from Black Abbey Brewing Company, please. Anybody
man.
listening, send ideas.
Something to do with like Catholicism, I think would be really good
Right?
to get back
Yeah.
at him.
Exactly.
Something like Pope Francis
Right.
or whoever the Pope was at the time of Martin Luther. I don't
Right.
know who that was, but
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Jay, you should know this.
no,
I mean,
no,
we
I
had such a deep conversation with him about theology the other day. But no, like that's
It is,
somewhere
yeah.
I would go because that would at least annoy
Yeah,
Carl.
exactly.
We've thought about it some, but it's like, kind of off color when you're, dealing with religion and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You don't want to make anybody mad.
Leo the 10th.
Leo the 10th.
Leo the 10th.
They're just going to name a real beer that.
I know.
That's funny.
All right, it's a great idea.
Exactly.
Anyways,
Yeah, but we do have some some other great some great breweries in town. We have great relationships with. We love those guys. Have a great relationship with Yazoo up the street. People ask us all the time what our relationship is with them because their brewery is about 100 yards from here, and they've been great friends to us and super helpful and. Send business back and forth between all the breweries, and it's cool to see the industry get bigger, but at the same time, the relationships stay strong.
Yeah.
that's cool. Is the Nashville scene? I know in Knoxville we have a very supportive brewery scene where if it's even down to, hey, we're out of Mosaic hops. Does anybody have any? Like,
Oh yeah.
breweries
for sure.
are always sharing.
Definitely.
Same here.
Yeah, same here, and like Kent from Blackstone, if we're having like a technical problem, he's like, he's got the oldest brewery in town, so he's like, if you've had this problem, I've had this problem, and so he really likes to, help out with that, and
He'll even get mad at us and be like,
we don't
or if we don't, he's like,
ask him.
I told you to call me. Why did you not call me? So,
yeah,
super supportive.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I guess, do we have really touched on what things we got going on in the future? You said expansion.
Expansion going
Yeah,
on.
so we're getting a new brew house. We work on a 15-barrel brew house right now. We're getting a 30-barrel brew house. It's bigger fermenters. Again, we're going to keep our original location and have the new one that's in the Wedgwood, Houston area of town.
And now you're going to have a tap room there? Or is
We will have a tap room there, yeah. And so we want them to be kind of unique spaces. They'll both have the core beers, but then there'll be some beers that are here, some beers that are there, and want them to both feel like Jackalope, but just different experiences. So it should be cool.
Yeah, and that new facility is about 2.5 miles from here.
Okay, so
Yeah.
not far.
So 2.5 miles from downtown.
Yeah. Yeah, it's close. And like you said, like another up and coming neighborhood in town. So there's a lot, by the time we're open, there's going to be a lot happening over there. So it'll be fun.
Very cool. So, is there anything outside of the Lovebird? Is there anything coming up in the next few months or anything like that, event-wise, that you guys would like to say, hey, make sure you're here for
the Craft
this?
Brewers Conference?
The National Craft Brewers Conference.
Be like a
Yeah.
third of a mile away from here.
I think every time
Oh,
we
you can be right next to that.
Oh, we are we're gonna
get slammed.
every time I think of the Craft Brewers Conference has been mentioned in Nashville, I've seen the owners of breweries start sweating.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna have a tent, like a real tent, over our whole parking lot for like the week, just because to try to handle it. And we've got lots of events happening, a few collaborations that we're working on. It's gonna be awesome. I mean, it's gonna be crazy, but really fun. So yeah. We're going to need to take some naps after that. And I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, it says a lot about Nashville's beer scene that, this is the first time it's ever happening here. We're kind of being put on the national stage. So, I mean, it shows that we've grown to a point that we can host, all the craft brewers from around the country here. So it'll be fun.
Yeah,
It's really exciting.
will be, and I do think that the national like craft beer, the industry itself, I think is so excited. I think about coming to Nashville. So it should be a lot of fun, and beer in the South. It's a big step for just Southern breweries in general.
I think so.
Yeah.
I've been pretty proud of Tennessee in general for how we've grown.
Night and day, yeah.
Yeah, it's been huge. Because we were talking before the podcast started, but I remember when New Belgium coming here was huge.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We were worried about new breweries.
Huge.
It was New Belgium and Yingling. Even Yingling coming.
I do remember that too. Yeah, Yingling.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We're kind of right around the same time, and it
Yeah.
was just a huge deal that we had, a brewery from Pennsylvania and a brewery from Colorado that were able to come in and
And
were able to
and I
drink.
remember Magic Hat because I grew up drinking Magic. When I turned 21, I started drinking Magic Hat, and so when I moved here, no one had heard of it, and then they started distributing here, and then they eventually sold and whatever else. But, it was a really big deal when they started distributing. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're in such a unique place, similar to Knoxville, where it's like 90% of the breweries here are under 5 years old. So it's funny having the conference here because we're all like, we're all still in it all the time. We don't really have like a New Belgium or a Stone or whatever, that kind of really big brewery that can kind of be the granddaddy. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. That's exciting. I'm so excited for Nashville and excited for you guys as well.
Thank you.
DJ, do you have any last? We have one last question we'd like to ask everybody on our podcast, and that question is, what is in your beer fridge right now?
Like at home?
At home.
I have. I actually just got back from Boston, and so I brought a few beers home. And one of them was Jack's Abbey, and it's a black lager. I like to try different styles. I'm as much about just trying a lot of different styles. Certainly have my favorites, but like to try a lot of different things. So I have that, and I have I think it's called Bent Waters Brewery, also a brewery up there. And it's a hazy IPA. New England IPA was up there, so had to get the namesake for the style from the source.
Yeah.
So those are the two beers in my fridge, along with like a whole bunch of Jackalope.
Yeah. Yeah. I went up to Minneapolis recently, so and I have a friend who does a little bit of work for Surly, so he just like loaded me up with all kinds of Surly beers. I was like, I don't have a big enough bag. He was like, here's a suitcase. So I have a bunch of Surly beer in my fridge right now, which is pretty fun.
So your answer was a lot better than Carl's.
He said Schlitz, didn't he?
He said nothing. He
didn't say anything.
He said he had a
drink
couple.
them.
He may have been Schlitz. He didn't specify what he was
I
drinking.
bet you he has Schlitz in his.
Probably.
Because I don't know. Anytime I'm with Carl, he buys me a Schlitz, and I don't know. It might be him
Carl's got
messing.
a bunch of Smirnoff Ices just waiting to go.
Yeah.
Carl will he'll come by and
That's what you
ice
should
our
do.
brews.
That's what you should do. You should send some people that Black Abbey for the Smirnoff IPA.
I know, we should.
Oh, there it is. This is the front runner right now. The
Smirnoff IPA.
Oh yeah.
That's a good idea, because he'll come ice.
Yeah. Did you hear about Black Abbey's new collaboration with Smirnoff Ice?
You heard it here first.
We released it. Yeah.
Podcast exclusive, DJ. This is awesome. I didn't expect that today.
Yeah.
Launching March 15th. Everyone go.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We're gonna have the signs made for that launch.
Yes, please.
Perfect.
I think that's what it is.
Launching April 1st.
It's perfect.
Yes. All right. Well, cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for being on today. Thank you for having us out.
Thank you.
To
Thanks for
Jackalope.
coming. It's fun talking to you.
Yeah, it's so good to be on.
Thank you. Thank
Well,
you.
I can't wait to drink in Knoxville hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully in 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember coming here and being like, why isn't this in Knoxville yet? So
Yeah.
excited
Yeah.
to see y'all. Think of
Can't make
plans.
enough beer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. Where, I guess, last as we wrap up, where can people find Jackalope online? Where can people, I guess, buy your beer now and obviously in
Yeah.
the future, hopefully Knoxville, but where else?
Well, our website is jackalopebrew.com. We have, we're pretty active on the Twitter and Instagram. We're at Jackalope Brew and at Jackalope Den, which is kind of our tap room handles for Twitter and Instagram. Our beer, most of it's in Middle Tennessee, a little bit in kind of the Chattanooga, Memphis, and Clarksville areas too.
Yep. If you're in Knoxville, your closest bet is to drive to Cookeville.
Yeah.
We do have some beer in Cookeville.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, thank you guys for being on. And I guess with that said, this has been Chris.
This is DJ Loop
And remember to stay humble.
and try new beer.
Thank you guys for being on.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
'Cause I'm halfway down in the bottom of a bottle and I ain't gonna change my ways.